Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Halo Combat Evolved playthrough done by a game designer. This is for Truth and Reconciliation. In my experience, this is the longest mission in the Halo Combat Evolved campaign. So we'll probably split this up into 2 different episodes because I think the playtime when I'm talking and meandering is about 60 minutes. That's my rough estimate of when I did my test run. So we're going to hop right into this, and we'll probably go about halfway until we get to a nice big door. And I want to spend a lot of time talking about how the level and the engine works in this episode. So we'll hop right into this, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. It really does help us out. If you'll remember when we left off 2 weeks ago, Captain Keyes was taken in by the Covenant. And now we're going to go on a rescue mission to go get Captain Keyes.
The enemy has captured Captain Keyes and are holding him aboard one of their cruisers, the Truth and Reconciliation. The ship is currently holding position approximately 300 meters above the other end of this plateau.
So how do we get inside the ship if it's in the air? The Corps issued me a rifle, not wings.
There's a gravity lift that ferries troops and supplies between the ship and the surface. That's our ticket in.
Once we get inside the ship, I should be able to lock on to the tracking signal from Captain Keyes' neural implants.
Hit 'em, Marines! Go, go, go! The Corps ain't paying us by the hour.
So we start off with an engine cutscene, and I want to talk a little bit about this mission because this is one of their largest missions in terms of space that they cover. So if we go back to this edge here, we fall off. I just wanted to show that there's no way for us to go anywhere they don't want us to go on the thing. If we go back to this ledge, and there's just nowhere to go.
We should be able to recon the
and they're giving us auditory cues of what we want, and they're going to do a lot of stuff in this engine, in this level with the engine to make sure that they unload things and do all sorts of tricks in this. So the Pelican goes behind the cliff, unloads.
Don't open fire until you hear the enemy return fire on us.
We have cliff walls on either side and a cliff on the other, and like a drop cliff behind us. There's really only one way to do this. And from a game design perspective, we have a level here where they're limited by resources, right? This game was made in early 2000s, like 2001 I think is the release date, I could be wrong. But they're limited by hardware. So on a large mission like this, they can't afford to have the resources spent in having all sorts of different paths going through the level. They really only have the resources to have a straight path. So how do they, as a game designer, whoever it was that made this decision, handle giving the player a feeling of choice when it's a pretty linear straight shot through the level? And we'll talk about this as we go through. The first one being here, the player has this option of being silent. Notice how the music changes based on whether or not you're in stealth mode or in full-on combat. As soon as I exited the stealth mode, I'm in full-on combat. But the choice is given to the player. Do they want to go in guns blazing, or do they want to go in, sneaky and try to breeze through some of the content? There's really not much space for things. That dude just rolled off a cliff. Goodbye. Look at him falling all the way down. There's really not much space for diversions of the main storyline here. You are traveling down this path, and you don't really have a lot of choice in that. They'll give you a few choices here. So we see movement ahead. We can sneak down to the left instead of the right this time. Or we can just go jump up and, have a fun time. Or just get spotted because I didn't see a person. You'll have to forgive my sniping, I am by no means a professional gamer. Alright, so here we have this ledge with one way up. Again, we're limiting resources. By adding texture and depth to the level via this rock, we give ourselves a way up, but it also adds some type of depth that it's not just the main terrain through a level. So double up on resources, have ways to get around these load times with tricks of like stuff unloading and reloading into the level. Like we've never seen that pelican again yet. So right now it's completely unloading, despite the fact that it went left along the cliff with us. So one thing I do want to highlight here is how they use the geometry here. Look how straight this cliff is. They're using a normal map, of course, because that's free detail on polygons. It's a picture that makes it look like there's more polygons there. But the lines of the cliffs are almost straight. This is a level where they really stretched their resources to make sure that they had everything that they needed for the player. And you'll see early on, in particularly older games, this is a fairly common strategy for cliff faces to be almost completely sheer. Or they'll cut back underneath the level, sort of like an overhang, and then they'll save polygons that way. So here we have another choice. We can go left or right, underneath or above, close combat or far.
Cortana to Echo 419, requesting reinforcements at our position.
Roger, Cortana. Echo 419 on approach.
So here our pelican is coming back into the level. So the audio cue coincides with them probably loading in the pelican. Again, saving themselves from polygons of all the previous scenes of having to load it. Now they can load it again, and then it can disappear again.
Alert! Covenant dropships are inbound.
Notice the geometry of these rocks, it's pretty straight. Again, part of that is due to the time, part of that is due to them trying to stretch this level. So now that we're pretty much done with this fight, I want to talk a little bit about this area, right? So we have this big cliff over on the left side of this area. Again, the sheer cliffs to save geometry. We have sort of grassy areas on the side, like right here, and then over there, there's a bit more grass. And we have this brown strip that runs up and down through it. So sometimes, you know, you might get a player that comes across and it's like, you know, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm trying to follow the dirt road, and it sort of dead ends here. And then you have some cues to the player that, you know, they'll need to use later. So like the land bridge that goes over the top. really cues the player in to logically follow this path to the left. Also, just as a heads up in Halo 1, it's almost better to always save the active camouflage over shields until after the area that they're in. So that'll let me execute things and not have to worry about how I would have used it in the last fight, mid-fight.
We're directly under the ship now.
Good work, Marines. Mother of God. I never thought I'd get this close to one of these things. How the hell are we going to get inside that monster?
The Covenant use a gravity lift to move troops and supplies between the ship and the surface. We need to ambush them at the grav lift's loading zone and use the lift to enter the ship.
Covenant forces sighted. Let's hit them, Charlie team. Sir, those freaking guns have us pinned down.
Fire in the hole! What was that?
Alert! Covenant dropships are inbound.
Man, it's always something.
Don't bother getting up! Crap!
So one of the purposes that these tall cliffs will serve on the outside is something called ambient occlusion. Ambient occlusion is the process where a camera renders. I just killed myself with a grenade. All right, now that that's in, ambient occlusion is what these cliffs are here for. They are blocking the camera from seeing things beyond them. And when the camera is blocked from seeing things from beyond them, they don't have to render those polygons into the scene. So often in linear scenes like this, you have big cliffs that block almost everything except for the skybox. So you rarely see other scenes. That's something more native to open worlds or something like that. So we're blocking the other parts of this level from happening, and at the same time, we're allowing ourselves to not have to render them, and that's what ambient occlusion is designed to do. It sends out what's called a little bit of a raycast. Essentially, it's a raycast. It's not quite a raycast, but for all intents and purposes, it sends out a raycast from the camera, and if it hits a wall, it renders it. If not, then it doesn't. They don't really send it in every direction, but that's sort of how it works. And in modern engines, I can't speak for Halo Combat Evolved, but in modern engines you can do a lot of this pre-baking. So it knows which direction things are happening, and you can pre-bake the ambient occlusion so that the camera knows if I'm in this area and I'm looking in this direction, I'll most likely hit a wall. So that's what these cliffs are here for, and that's why these cliffs are here, and why you'll see them on most levels, even in modern games. This will let them have more polygons on their main characters, and in more detail on the things that matter to you as a player, is by doing tricks like ambient occlusion. I wonder what happens if we stand here and the hunter spawns. Like, will they just instantly spawn?
Nothing over here.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that if you're on the platform, the hunter will not spawn. See if I'll move away, if they'll spawn the hunter. Guess I need to get far enough away that all of the Marines follow me off. Yeah, okay. So again, notice the music act as a start to combat. It's just an auditory cue for the player that they've been spotted and the AI is engaging. It's likely that this cone here in the center is an emissive map, meaning that it's just essentially like a clear polygon where this gravity canyon is. There's no physics collider on it. There's just a little mesh that's mostly clear and has some color, and then they move it up and then reset and just sort of like loop it through.
Once we're inside the ship, I can home in on the captain's command neural interface. He'll probably be in or near the ship's brig, which should narrow.
I wonder if I can climb up this.
Echo 419 inbound. Clear the drop zone.
Notice the polygons on this? There's likely just two faces on the middle part of that. Get some Marines. I wonder if our bandana buddy's back. No. Doesn't look like it. It's not him. I can't confirm. Bandana guy. Still missing in action. So here they unload the entire scene. All of the previous things have been unloaded and they load you into a whole new level.
What? There's no covenant here. I think maybe nobody's home.
I need to save my Marine buddy. That was a mistake. Don't pistol whip the person with the sword. Alright, let's save our buddy this time, right away. Thanks, man. I only had forewarning from my last life. So I want to talk about some of the spawning chambers that they use and why they use some doors and what those doors do. So here this door will remain open as long as I'm staring into it or something is coming out. As soon as I leave it, it closes. And this will link the two spawning areas in here. And you'll never see stuff spawn in here as long as we're in there. But as soon as we come out, stuff can spawn behind us. See how we can't open the door? See how we can't open the door now that we're not next to it initially? And they'll signify this with a sort of psychological trick. A red light means stop, green light means go. These are things that society has mostly trained into us. They'll still let you out. I almost just killed myself by walking onto a grenade. They'll still let you out, but they don't let you in when it's red. It's just a little psychological tell for the player. So a new door opens. And here we find one of the doors that's one of my favorite doors in the whole thing because it is a really clever way to unload a whole section of the level. So this door is probably where we're gonna cut it off, but I'll go around and clear out the other side, and then we'll start off with this door next time, because I really do want to talk about how cleverly they handled this door. We're given this side mission where it's mostly just straight levels. Like, we have a few turnoffs, but if you look down any of them, or most of them, they have these red doors, which, again, the psychological tell is stop for red, green for go. It's very intentional. Did I hit the thing with that? Don't mind me. Don't. Okay. Yeah.
Wait, that's the locked door down there. The Marines are waiting on the other side. The doors to open it must be somewhere in this room.
So Cortana gives us an audio cue about this locked door. And this locked door is important from a narrative perspective, right? We're finding a way for the Marines to get through, because they aren't, you know, they're not Master Chief. Master Chief can go through hundreds of enemies like it's nothing, but the Marines can't. So it's a little bit of a, you know, adding to the feel of being the guy in a Master Chief game. So there's a narrative design perspective of this, but it's a really cool indication of communication at Bungie for this level. They have a engineering side of this as well, a hardware, a graphics performance side that benefits from this door being closed the way it is. We can clear out the whole room, and if we come over here and hit E, notice checkpoint done, we can open this door. I'm not going to, because I'll probably leave that for tomorrow, but once we pull Marines in through that door, it'll unload the whole section behind, so it no longer has to even worry about the physics of the hidden polygons. It unloads all of those objects and reloads essentially a whole new scene without having to reload a scene. It doesn't load in the stuff ahead of this, like in the next part of the level. It only has the things from the previous part of the level. So notice how all the doors are red. Right now we have the other side of that door, plus the small tunnels that we've gone through, and that's it. That's the only thing that's loaded into the scene right now. We can go back through those tunnels and try to find a way around, or we can open the door. So audio cue, get moving. This is our command tunnel. I'm not going to hit E because I'm probably going to end the episode here. But once we do pass that, we'll get to go through this door, and another door will open down here. And that will be the way that it loads essentially a whole new level without having to load a whole new level. So thank you so much for watching. We're going to pause this episode here because it's a bit of a long one. I think we're already at 20-ish minutes. And next time I'll open this door and we'll go right on through rescuing Captain Keyes. As always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please let me know down below. I'm always more than happy to help. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. It really does help us out, and hopefully we'll see you next week.